Hi, Tim.
Hey, y'all. How's it going? Huh?
Where's out of town?
Oregon.
That's exciting.
Hmm?
Where are you? Exactly.
In Portland.
Well, I'm gonna be there.
Let's go.
Oh, okay. Okay. We're broadcasting. All right. Let me know when we're live. We're good. All right. Welcome to the Ravenswood City School District regular board meeting of June 8th, 2023. The board meeting is now called to order at 6:31. I will start with roll call. Trustee Alexander. Here. Trustee Shabomahin.
Here.
Trustee Latu is running late. Trustee Nunez.
Here.
And I myself, Trustee Bloom am present, and we have quorum. So we will move forward to item number 2, approval of the agenda. Do we have any questions or comments regarding the agenda? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with Trustee Latu absent. We will now move on to closed session at 6:32. Oh, wait, sorry. Before we do that, if we have any members of the public who would like to address anything that is agendized during closed session, as I see none, we will now adjourn to closed session at 6:32. And we will be back at approximately 7:15. Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you in closed session, Tim.
Lo
at 7:50 p.m. For the record, trustee Latu joined us at 6:34 p.m. in closed session, and trustee Shabomaheen left at 7:45 p.m. During the meeting. All right, so we will now report out for the action taken in closed session for item number 3A. The board voted 5-0 to approve the initiation of dismissal procedures of a certificated employee. For item number 3B, there was discussion and no action was taken. We will now move on to item number 6, which is from the floor. So if there are any public speakers, please complete the yellow form this is for any members of the public who would like to address anything that is not agendized. This is the time to do so. Do we have any speakers? Okay, as I see none, I'm going to go ahead and move on to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, or if there's any comments.
Through the chair, I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Action carries 4-0. We will move on to item number 8, which is the consideration to approve the agreement with City Year.
Good evening, trustees. It is my great privilege tonight to present some friends of ours from City Year who we're hoping can join the district for the upcoming school year. We have been trying to bring City Year to this district for 3 years now. City Year is an amazing program. I was a part of it actually after high school that does a lot of work in schools all across the country. We're bringing them into our district for a couple of things. One, to run a before school program as part of our extended learning opportunities program. So our schools will be open an hour before school all the way up to 6 o'clock. And more or less with our partnership with the Boys and Girls Club in summers and breaks. So our schools are really open for a long time during the day for our community, which is incredibly important for working parents like me and others in our community. I'm not going to talk much longer, but I'm going to hand it over to Kevin Bradshaw, I believe, who's the executive director of San Jose Silicon Valley. He's just going to talk a little about the program, and then we are asking the board to hopefully approve the contract tonight. Yep.
Good evening, dear board members. My name is Kevin Bradshaw. I'm the executive director of City of San Jose Silicon Valley. Super excited to speak to you all this evening about what we do at City Year. I would like to first thank you for inviting my colleagues and I to share a little bit about what we do here at City Year. Joining me today is my operations manager, Rika Joyce Crudo, and Kendall Keys, our career partnerships manager, who's in charge of recruitment of the AmeriCorps members that will be working in our schools. Just quickly, a little bit about myself. Before coming to City Year San Jose Silicon Valley, I served as a teacher for 5 years in the Barrio Logan area of San Diego, California. And then I served as dean of students for an additional 2 years, and then principal for 5 years. Everything that we do at City Year is based on these 3 components that you see in this triangle here. I don't like to call it underserved. I like to call it thriving communities that we work in. We're going to change that from underserved students to thriving students that we work with, and the AmeriCorps that will be supporting your students in the classroom. As William mentioned earlier, we will be providing service 1 hour before school starts. And then throughout the whole day, we will be in the classroom assisting your students in the classrooms. In a second, I'm going to bring Ms. Crudo up just to talk a little bit more in detail about how we support the teachers and the students in the classrooms. But what I would like to note is that our AmeriCorps and our team leaders who come and work in your schools are sufficiently trained to tutor and to support students before and after school and during school. Throughout the year, if we are privileged enough to be within your district, the yellow jacket that you see Ms. Crudo wearing, that is something that you will see our AmeriCorps that will be coming into your schools. Typically, we would anticipate to have anywhere from 5 to 8 AmeriCorps, depending on the corps size, in each school to support. And throughout the year, you will see myself and other team members visit the site. Again, I feel very privileged and honored to be given the opportunity to speak with you all. And I am just super excited about the potential impact that we can bring to this community as partners. So thank you again for joining, asking us to join you. And I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Crudo for a second.
All right. So as you said, my name is Rika Joyce Crudo. I'm the operations manager here at City Year San Jose. Okay, so City Year follows the whole school, whole child model. And with that, our objectives are to improve performance in attendance, behavior, and course performance with the ultimate goal of on-time grade progression. So getting them on track, on time by the time they get to high school, so they have a higher chance of graduating. So this starts with daytime. So in the morning before school, we'll be having some tutoring time and some time where we could just catch up on homework or anything else they might need. And then when students are officially entering the campus, we'll be at the front entrance supporting with morning greetings. So this could either be positive interactions, just saying hello, or it could be song and dance as we welcome them. So they have like a bright little entrance to their day. Next, we have, or also another thing we do in the morning is also designated check-ins. So we can support specific students in check-in times where we can see how they're doing and kind of clear their mind before they go into the classroom and hopefully just give them an ease of mind as they focus on the curriculum in front of them. Then we have our tier 1, which is classroom differentiated instruction. And in this, we're supporting teachers with the live content. So we're either going to students one-on-one, seeing if they have any questions, seeing if they're understanding the content, or we could be doing learning groups to the side within the classroom to support whatever they're working on in class. Then we have our tier 2 model, which is when we do focus list students. This is a pull-out intervention group. So these are typically students who are not at grade level yet, and we're helping to help them build that foundation so that when they get into the classroom, they can continue at the pace of the main class. Next, we're just essentially positive adult interactions. Because we use the near peer model, our core members are going to be between 18 to 25 years old. And with that, students just feel this like calmer sense approaching us. They don't feel the same intimidation they might with their daytime teachers. And it just gives them another chance to speak with adults and also voice whatever might be going on in their mind that they might not feel like they have the chance to in the classroom. Then during lunch or recess, sometimes we're out there just in a less structured area, playing games with them to continue fostering those positive relationships. And then when it comes to after school, that's when we do tutoring and homework time. And in that time, we can also do STEAM curriculum, so science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and just bring some exposure to additional topics that they may not have heard of before or may not have time for in the daytime. And then overall, we're there to support the school climate. So that could be events, that could be putting on a spirit week and coordinating with staff to figure out what might be needed to engage families, students, and just the community as a whole. So just to break down what tier 1 and tier 2 look like. So for math, we have our tier 1 support, which is going to be instructional support, homework assistance, math appreciation and recognition, math in school and after school student-centered events, and math across the school day. Very similar for literacy, we have comprehension, instructional support, homework assistance, literacy appreciation and recognition, literacy in school and after school, student-centered events, and then literacy just across the school day. Tier 2, with our intervention groups, we'll be working on computational fluency for math, content-derived instruction, and for 3rd through 5th graders, typical math content, so operations, algebraic thinking, and fractions. In tier 2, for literacy, it'll be vocabulary, fluency, and reading comprehension. So overall, we're just there to add targeted support for students and just support any turnaround strategies that the school's already doing. We're there to not only support attendance and behavior monitoring and coaching, but we're there for after school extended learning time and to really just make the students engage with their educational journey that much more. Sometimes we bring ideas and bring belief to the students that may not have happened if they were just going through their school day. With City Year, they do get to foster these relationships and see our near peer mentors year after year, just working to make sure that they engage with the whole school.
Thank you, City Year team. With that, we'll conclude our presentation.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
I have a comment. I am a huge supporter of City Year. I've had the privilege of working with them in Washington, DC. And so, you know, when it comes to this district, I believe that it really takes a whole village to support the needs of our young people. And so I was really excited when I saw that it was agendized. And you know, I just want to say that this would be a great benefit to our district and fill in some gaps that we currently have that need a little bit more attention. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you all for joining us. And I am very happy about this presentation.
I had a couple of questions that came up and I'm sorry because I didn't bring them up earlier. In terms of the training that the city year AmeriCorps members are going to be receiving, they'll get some training through city year. But will they also be able to attend or required to attend any school PDs that happen on an ongoing basis?
Let Kevin speak to the city year PDs. I think we're working on that schedule now because it's really important to us that they feel not just like a city year core member, but also a Ravenswood team member. And so we are thinking about, city year does some stuff historically on Fridays, but we also want to do things on Wednesdays during our early release days where they're really part of the school community. And we don't want them to feel sort of like an otherness.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the main question? Was it?
Yeah, that's the main, because I feel like some schools have initiatives. If they're supporting the school, then they should be included in those initiatives and in that training as well.
I just want to reinforce that point. Also, when we had a conversation with the Boys and Girls Club, the goal is to have alignment so that staff who are part of the school site know exactly how to integrate their supports and support students based on the goals of the sites and the district.
And I have, oh, go ahead.
If I could just add to that. Also, in addition, what we do before our AmeriCorps arrive on your site, we spend 3 weeks with them, training them before. And what we like to do with our partners is invite you to our trainings as well. Also, every Friday, we hold a half-day training with our AmeriCorps on site. So again, we love the fact that you all are inviting us to join you, but we also invite you to join us so we can be aligned in everything that we're doing.
In terms of, because you mentioned that schools will open an hour earlier and stay open later. Are there any supports like new bus systems that we're thinking about, like an early bus and a late bus to get kids there early and get kids there, get kids home later if they are staying? I'm just throwing it out there that might increase enrollment or attendance this early or this late. And if we don't have a system for that, then I worry about how many will attend.
I would say thinking about yes.
Yes.
We did do some work earlier on
Mm-hmm.
thinking about looping our buses to try and have multiple drop-offs. We've also just had some challenges staffing our bus driver. There's
Yeah.
a pretty big shortage. So,
Yeah.
For a bus driver who's doing both the afternoon and the morning shift, if they do an early loop, their day probably starts around 5:30 a.m. of getting here and would then run until about 6:45 or so. That's a real long day. So we probably would just need to split the day into 2 shifts, which doubles the number of, so it's,
Yeah, it's an
the answer
ongoing
is yes,
thing.
we are
We're
thinking about it. We completely agree. It's just very logistically challenging.
Through the chair, it
Yeah.
also, the support will fill a current need.
Okay.
Families are already bringing students to school before 8 a.m.
Okay.
And so they're already there.
Okay.
And so City Year will be able to support providing productive activities during that time.
And then my final question, sorry, is in terms of recruitment, because it is the 18 to 25 age range. I was an AmeriCorps member, I did public allies. I'm wondering how much recruitment can be done in our community so that hopefully we're getting people from East Palo Alto, maybe some Ravenswood alumni to come back and work in our schools.
It's a great question. So in previous years, what we had, recruitment came solely from headquarters, which is Boston. We recently implemented CPM, our career partnership manager, who's local. And he does recruitment for that very same reason, so that we can recruit in the districts that we work in. And we're making a strong push to recruit not only college students, but students straight out of high school. So they can kind of get an idea of what they want to do. So that's something that Mr. Keys will be doing. He will be in your community recruiting in this district.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I've also had a lot of experience with AmeriCorps, not necessarily with this organization, but I had an AmeriCorps volunteer in my classroom many years ago in another district far, far away. And I love what AmeriCorps does. I love the fact that AmeriCorps brings youth and young adults into education or into whatever AmeriCorps thing that they're doing, but especially I know AmeriCorps people who are in AmeriCorps who became excellent teachers. So I'm excited about this partnership. I do know that we have had a need for before school care for a very long time. I know that when Bellhaven was designated a community school years ago, that's the one aspect of being a community school that it did not do. So I'm excited about that. Thank you for your presentation. That was very nice, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of you.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the questions and the comments. I will just add to before school care is very necessary. And I, as a parent, definitely feel that. I know for one of the schools that you guys are going to be at, Castaño, I used to wait in the parking lot because my son just didn't feel like a connection to actually go to the playground and wait without that person. So I know having that person is really important for kids, little kids, big kids, just to feel safe. So, and have fun too, and learn, and all of the other things they're supposed to be doing at school. But mostly just to add that safety to each of our campuses, because parents are dropping off early because they have to go. And so as a parent who would have to peel my child off my arm, I am excited to hand them off to somebody else. And I'm looking forward to continuing to have this care and to work with people who can work with parents that have that situation or that struggle, to have that conversation, to say, here's how we can support, and let's have that conversation with the parents too, of like, how can we make this transition better? So I'm looking forward to it. And hopefully we say yes, because I haven't made a motion, or haven't asked for a motion yet. So if there's no other questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the agreement with City Year.
Through the chair, I move to approve the agreement with City Year.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you so much. Before we move on to the next agenda item, I know we went through the consent agenda very quickly, but I also just want to make note that we do have our vice principal of Cesar Chavez Ravenswood Middle School here with us today, who we approved in the consent agenda. His name is Bart Lever. And I don't know if that's it. Okay. So Bart, yes, thank you. Welcome to the team. We are excited to have you, and we're excited to have you serving with our new principal as well, Christian Miley, who we approved a few weeks or a month ago. So we're excited to have a full team out there at CCRMS, and to see all of you and to have you guys at our newly remodeled campus that you guys are going to get the privilege to open with us. So thank you so much and welcome. Great. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item, which is item number 9, which is the presentation of the preliminary design for the community hub on Bay Road.
Well, speaking of that beautiful redesigned campus, we're excited to present the next phase of our work with the Sandhill Foundation. Several months ago now, the board approved the MOU with the Sandhill Foundation. And we've been working really closely with the folks there to, talk about preliminary designs, talk about what the space could be, talk about what the community needs there, and how some of the possible things that we're adding both not just fit with the contract, of course, but really meet the needs of the community and the school. We have been working on not just what the uses are, but what the building looks like, how traffic flows through the site. And we've reached, I think, a really, really good place. And I'm thrilled to invite Ken Rodriguez up in a minute just to talk through what the actual design will look like. But just where we are in the timeline here. The goal today is for the board to review the initial presentation, give some feedback on it. We will then work to incorporate that feedback into the final design, which the board would approve at some point in the future, potentially as soon as the June 22nd meeting. And then the next step of that is not necessarily going to get built immediately after that. There's then sort of the real design process where they have to get ready to go through DSA, make sure everything is up to code, and then begin construction probably, 18 months after that, something like that. So it's not anything imminent, but we are sort of proceeding along over the last 4 months to really work on this design. I do want to just talk a little bit, just to remind everyone, I know it's been a while since we looked at this last, of just what the sort of site plan here is. The orange box on the left is sort of reserved for district use. There's been a lot of talk about what that could be. There's nothing set in stone at all as to what that could be. So something for us to kind of work on and figure out. On the right is the community hub. And we'll talk exactly about what's in that in a minute. And then surrounding that is the parking lot, which again, the Soundtail Foundation is going to work to do a lot of the site work, including building that parking lot, which will have a ton of benefits for us. There's a couple of additional things in light gray that we're not necessarily have immediate plans on, but we know we're in the works. One on the left there is the 8-80 zone. On the right is some new redesigned classrooms to kind of make that more of a STEAM courtyard. The goal here, though, is, and the focus of today's conversation is not those other pieces. It really is that blue building. And I'll invite Ken up to kind of walk through exactly what's in that blue building, both the interiors and the exterior. So without further ado, here he is.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Ken Rodriguez. I'm an architect in Mountain View, California, and have been working with Sandhill for two decades, about 30 years. And I'm excited to bring this building before you. As Will mentioned, we've been working very closely with district and district staff to come up with, I think, a very unique plan, a very community-driven project where the center of the spine of this building will be a continuous lobby that will not only enter from the parking area, which is on the below side, but also from the courtyard side. Because going back to the site plan, you can see this direct tie that we're developing right through the center of the site and right up through to the 8-80 building and the other classroom building that Will just mentioned. So the circulation really links itself together, and this lobby became sort of the hub and the center and open space piece that is extremely exciting. It not only has a reception area, but it also has a full kitchen area and a dining space that ties into a courtyard space that you can see on your left in green. That's an outdoor courtyard with doors that can open up and bring that natural light and space back into the building. And then the lobby itself then connects the two community side. The community side, which is on the right, which would be the multi-purpose courts and bleacher seating areas, restroom area, with everything on the left, which becomes the auditorium, classrooms, boardroom, and then in the pink area up on top would be the clinic with its own entrance right off the courtyard again. The building itself has a very sculptural shape, roofed, that we think is very, very interesting. A lot of continuous glass up above what will be a really nice privacy wall around all of the classroom areas. You can see on the elevation on the bottom, right in the center of that elevation is that big glass lobby that's the connector that you can go through from the courtyard space or the parking space. The multi-purpose courts on the right-hand side, and then the community hub on the left-hand side. Here's a really good perspective from Bay Road, showing the sculptural roof form, the glass and glazing, and again, the landscaping that would be improved out onto Bay Road. And so with that, I'd like to turn it back to Will, and any questions that you have, we'd be happy to answer.
I'll just briefly reiterate sort of the next steps here. Goal today is to get feedback. There's no decisions or anything like that being made. Goal is just to get some feedback on the design we've been working on for gosh, almost 4 months. And then hopefully bring it back to the board for approval should it meet board's expectations. So with that, I'll close our presentation.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Yes. Well, can we go to slide 4? Yes. So I see that the location of the clinic is in the far left. Where the orange line is, that's Bay Road, correct?
Yes, Bay Road. Right.
Can we jump up to slide 3? Yes. So
Thanks.
if the clinic is right there, it's a bit far off from the parking. And so people who are going to the clinic will either have to walk through the entire cafe area, or they'll have to go all the way around if they don't want to be seen.
Through the chair, I second that comment.
It's a great question. We talked about this at length. This parking up here, we would definitely have the ability to park here, as well as the ADA parking stalls, and they would come right into the courtyard as other students, as well as anyone else visiting the building. And then there's this connection to whatever you're going to be working on here in the future, which we think kind of knits it together. And that entrance is right here into the clinic.
I don't know, just on that, so it's not just public access, obviously using this, it's also our students. And one of our thought here was, if we put it, say, here, it would be closer for community access, but it would be a lot less privacy for students coming down. Right now, they'd be sort of kind of ensconced in the actual building. And so they'd be sort of surrounded in a safe way and able to get into the clinic to access for medical services in a little more private way. It's part of the
I think also we wanted the gym in the back closer to the campus and anyone from the public closer to Bay Road. And away from, I think that was a distinction we also received from the board.
Through the chair. I don't think that we're thinking of wanting the gym closer to Bay Road and the clinic closer to the school. I'm thinking that flipping the clinic in the kitchen. That's I think where it is. I mean, how many of our students are going to be going to the clinic during the school day?
Unsupervised.
Unsupervised. I don't.
hopefully supervised a lot, right? Hopefully many students are using the dental benefits, the vision screenings, a lot of that, not like the nurse's office, but more routine care. So hopefully many.
But during the school day, I mean, I certainly, my middle school child, when she was a middle school child, I wouldn't say going off to the clinic after school and take care of your medical needs. I'd be there with her. I don't think that having privacy for our students accessing the clinic is, I'm thinking of the access to the public to the clinic. That's where I'm thinking. And yes, if this was a shopping center or a someplace that has a reason to stroll through the promenade before you get to your clinic, I would understand that. But it's not, the people are accessing the clinic. I think that the clinic should be in the lower right-hand portion if we're looking at it this way, on the Bay Roads, Bay Road corner.
Do you know the yardage between the parkings, each parking spot to the clinic in walking distance? It's about 140 feet, and from the other side to the clinic. Yeah,
Excuse me, so sorry. So sorry. This commercial kitchen that's down here, we need to access that for food and deliveries. And it's one of the reasons that this drove the plan as well. We did not want to bring that messy into that lovely courtyard. And again, not knowing what was going to go here in the future, to keep some flexibility.
yeah, I still stick by my concerns. Just knowing this community that we're representing, asking them to walk about 100 and something feet from the parking to the clinic, I see as problematic, as well as community members that will have to walk like it. I'm saying this because I know that if I were to present this or it were to get built, I would get a lot of complaints about having to walk through spaces when people want to go to their clinic appointments privately without like having to bump into a bunch of people on your way. And then it being kind of in the middle part, which is a bit further. I feel like it's not very thoughtful walking wise to this community.
through the chair, especially if the kids are all leaving the gym after their gym class and, you know, somebody who has mobility issues is trying to get to the clinic. And you have, you know, a class of 86 graders all trying to get back to the campus in the same corridor.
Can we go to slide 6? To the chair. This view of the community hub kind of reminds me of Redwood Shores. If I were to if I were to see this building, I would think it would be in Redwood Shores. As an example, what I'm saying is that I'm kind of, I don't want to say I don't like it. I think it's very different, but I also think that in my perspective, it's not very reflective of this community. And that is my perspective on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for the presentation and for the thoughtful design choices. I think that the direction may be to just have a deeper conversation about the placing of the clinic. And if we can find a way to make it accessible for those who want more privacy, possibly, and not necessarily in wanting to be part of the community hub. If the intention of the clinic from Sand Hill Foundation's perspective is to be a place where it is part of the community hub, right? Like this is a place where they do want people to walk through, right? I think that the intention was for it to be a place where people can come and wait and get something from the cafe as they're waiting for their appointment. So I see both perspectives, right? I see that there are people who will most likely want privacy, and then there are people who are also probably coming to get community at this hub. So I think that, and they might be visiting the clinic and then going and having a meeting or something like that. So I understand the intention behind the design. And I just wonder if there's a way that we can try to merge both of those intentions of, yes, we want it to be a place that is building community because it's the community hub, but then also, is there a place for those people who do want privacy for medical appointments? Because that is you want privacy for medical appointments, right? So is there a way to merge those two intentions? Yeah.
Through the
Through the
chair.
chair.
Are you
Go
gonna-
ahead.
Trustee Newman.
I'm just wondering if there's a way to try to alleviate the concerns. Like the outdoor courtyard, could that potentially be switched with the clinic? If you go to slide 4, the clinic's bigger than that outdoor courtyard that's planned there. But I wonder, sorry, slide 4.
But we're,
Oh, you were gonna say the auditorium.
yeah, we're thinking of, you know, Peanut Gallery over here was thinking through the chair, the clinic and the auditorium. Because then the auditorium has that big, long, walkway. Okay. The big, long walkway going, down into the auditorium to see whatever it is. And the clinic is right there, next to the cafe and then people can access it through the little blue corridor. And that way the auditorium is the focal end of that walkway, not the clinic.
Would also add just on that auditorium, don't know if this changed anything about that idea, but there's sort of two spaces that could be potential boardrooms. One is marked, I believe, as such. The other is potentially the auditorium for times where we have bigger meetings, more people. Remember a meeting where we were sort of an overflow in multiple rooms that would help address it. So just reiterating sort of possible other usage for that auditorium.
I mean, don't get rid of the auditorium.
Oh, no, sorry, more just naming other uses that would relate to this board beyond just the community uses.
Yeah, and if it is switched with the clinic, it would allow for easier access to those meetings that might have a lot of presence from the community.
So I think direction is to continue the process. I think that I think overall the design is great, my comments, and I think that if we can address that one issue and find a common ground and understanding, I think that that would be good for us moving forward.
And I would just reiterate our gratitude, immense gratitude to everyone involved in this. It's been a lot of work and a lot of thinking going into this. We appreciate the board's thoughts and reactions, both today and earlier. I know there's been a lot of prior meetings on this one as well. So just overall, a lot of thank yous, I think, all around right now.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay. We are going to move forward to the next item, which is item number 10, the board direction on pursuing a parcel tax.
Good evening again. Just wanted to give I know we touched on this at a prior board meeting, and based on the conversation there, we thought it might be helpful just to split that item into two. One, to talk about sort of just a parcel tax, the overall context around it, and then two, talk a little bit about early childhood writ large. I have more informational. I think that the goal here is just to inform the public a little about just sort of what a parcel tax entails. Parcel tax is one of the only ways that we can raise additional funds. We have been using a parcel tax in our district. We couldn't even quite find the initial one, but at least since 2005. So it's certainly been a mechanism that we've been using for a number of years. One thing to note about a parcel tax, it's a little bit different than the bond process we all just went through. The pass rate is quite a bit higher. So the bond pass rate is 55%, and we've usually been anywhere between sort of low 60s, I think, to mid 70s on the last one. The parcel tax is 66%. And so the success rate is quite a bit lower statewide. Obviously, we think there's a ton of support in this community for education, as demonstrated by the number of times our parcel tax has passed. You know, last time it passed was 74%. But in 2011, it passed by a little bit less than 2 percentage points, right? So if 1 out of 100 people had flipped their votes, it wouldn't have passed. The use of parcel taxes are generally fairly flexible. Similar to a bond program where you have a program list, you have that same thing with a parcel tax, but it's somewhat broad. And I would just add that our parcel tax has been bringing in a little bit over $1.2 million annually for the last 8 years or so. Excuse me, actually since 2011. So the other thing of note, I would just say for the board, we have not actually raised the amount of money we're collecting in our parcel tax since 2011. So I guess there's just a couple of questions. I would say more for conversation or perhaps direction. If the board is interested in pursuing a parcel tax or pursuing renewing our parcel tax, there's a couple of questions. Is there support for this idea? Is there support for potentially, should there be board direction to do so, explore expanding the parcel tax? So going from the 1.2 million we've been getting for the last 12 years or so to a higher number. We also have some flexibility about the length of time the parcel tax would be. I believe there's actually no ceiling. It could be a forever parcel tax, right? Could be a 2-year parcel tax. There's also questions around like what specific uses of funds should the parcel tax go to? And then also just thinking about when do we want to time it? So this isn't something that we have to do right now, but exploring possible uses now gives us general elections, off-cycle elections, Democratic primaries, kind of gives us the full menu of options. So if it's close, we can kind of be just very thoughtful about which election we target. I would also just remind, I don't know if this would come up, but just if it does come up, the staff cannot answer in a way that would indicate someone should or should not vote for the parcel tax. We can only answer factual questions as this is an electoral issue. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you. So questions and comments from the board regarding the parcel tax?
The chair, I will
Yes.
kick it off again.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Will, Dr. Will, I think, why is everyone laughing? Okay. My first question is there a way that we can go for a parcel tax that adjusts per fiscal year?
Do you mean, for example, grow with inflation, or do you mean the amount we would set per fiscal year? Like we would say 1.2 million, then 1.7 million per board direction and 2 years later.
That would grow with inflation
I believe so.
or standard of
I
living.
believe it can grow with inflation.
Okay, so I think my comment regarding that is, I think it is wild that we have not raised the amount in parcel taxes since 2011, considering the increase in our standard of living within this region. And so I believe that we should, if we are going to go for a parcel tax, ensure that we are setting a number that is fair, and that will help us generate the funding that we need to increase and sustain the current projects that we have here at Ravenswood City School District. So, yes, I think that we would have a substantial amount of support from our community, because we're seeing it even with SPED and the programming that they need. And with our other projects here in the district, there are many needs that I believe are worth more than 1.2 million. And if we are going to continue to be competitive with our region, we need to continue to think of financial ways that we can sustain some of the things that we want to provide for our district. So I think that, yes, there is support for this parcel tax. I think if we're gonna expand it, I would see us expanding it for at least 10 years. My thought process is minimum 10 years, potentially longer, depending on what that number is gonna look like. I think that if we are gonna go for a parcel, we should consider inflation and adjusting the numbers accordingly. And if we are gonna use specific uses, meaning highlighted language in the ballot, I would see us using language of us maintaining and expanding the amount of services that we provide within our district for our people, for our young people. And I would want us to go for this during the next electoral cycle, which is in which is in 2 years, because our parcel is gonna expire. And so, that 1.2 million to our budget is going to be a hit.
Sorry, just to clarify slightly, it's currently June 2023. There's a general election in November 2024. So about a
Okay.
year and a half. Is that was what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
So we would have to work a little bit with us.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I think my opinions would be to see how much support a parcel tax would have in our community. And if we notice that it's high support, then I would do it for longer years. If we're narrowing in the if it's a 2% again, then maybe we can see if a shorter time would alleviate that concern. But I do think we should go for the 2024.
Thank you. Trustee Alexander.
I think that, I would definitely want us to look at doing the parcel tax. Is that enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I agree with all of the comments made. I do think that we should continue with the parcel tax. I think that we do need to get an idea of what our community wants and needs as we consider what the language would be and the length and the amount. So I think that would be the next step, is to figure out what the community needs. But yes, I am for pursuing a parcel tax or expanding it, especially because we are going to have this 1.2 that we need to figure out how to continue to have in our budget moving forward. So to summarize, the board direction is to pursue a parcel tax.
Pursue exploring a parcel tax.
Pursue exploring a parcel tax, because we
Which
cannot.
we will do with all due haste.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move on to item number 11, which is the board direction on setting early childhood education vision.
Still me. Solomon Hill, our Executive Director of Technology, asked, why are you the one presenting this? Which is a fantastic question. This has been a real sort of cross-functional thing around early childhood, and there's a many people who've been involved in this. I'm just the one who's sort of able to make it tonight. Just want to sort of step back and just remind everyone a couple of things. And again, it's more general public, but just highlighting overall. One of the things when we talked about early childhood last time was kind of like, what's in it for us? Like, we know there's a community benefit, but our job as Ravenswood is Ravenswood. And what is in it for Ravenswood? And so I wanted just to highlight a couple of things that are specifically in it, not for our community, which we obviously care about, but specifically in it for Ravenswood. So there's a ton of research, and just ticking through these, a ton of research around the impact that students who come to our schools ready, they do better. It's not surprising. If you are ready for kindergarten, you're ready for TK, it is easier to teach you in TK, in kindergarten, and first grade, and second grade, and third grade, and those benefits carry all the way through. Most of the achievement gap comes in that 0 to 4 gap. That's where the achievement gap starts. And so for us, when we think about our equity mission, probably the best way as a district for us to tackle that achievement gap isn't just excellent teachers in every classroom, which obviously we're working on. It's having good early childhood partner feeders. The third thing is, we want to serve every kid in this community, having clear pipeline programs. And I think we've done some of this, but there's a lot more we could do around just making that transition from starting an early childhood center at 1, 2, 3. Next thing you know, you're kind of just showing up Bellhaven, and it is seamless. It is truly seamless for parents. 4, I don't think this is talked about often enough, but high quality early childhood programs have been really shown to actually reduce special education rates. Before I worked here, I worked at Boston Public Schools, and I did an analysis that may or may not have been right, but I think it was, which showed that kids who did just TK, or pre-K as we called it, had lower special ed rates throughout the rest of their academic career. So they had lower supports in K, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 12th. That reduction alone paid for early childhood, paid for TK. Now we're talking about something a little bigger potentially, but I just wanted to highlight the sort of impact that this can have, again, on Ravenswood's budget. So setting aside the societal benefits, huge benefits just for us. We've done a lot to this point, right? I mean, kind of quietly, but we universally expanded TK last year. We just opened seats, right? And they filled up. They were full at the end of the year, probably fuller than we wanted them to, but we filled them up. We've done a lot of local leadership around convening and bringing together different groups in the area to really think specifically about staffing and how can we build more local pipeline feeders for people to get the credentials and the backgrounds they need for early childhood. And then the third thing is, and this board's approved multiple of these, but just how do we address the space crisis that these programs are facing? How do we find ways to open seats, physical seats, not even necessarily always in quality classrooms, but just physical seats for people to go. And so we've been doing that in a bunch of different agreements. So I guess today, similar to the parcel tax conversation, we're looking for board direction kind of on 2 pieces of things. One, just does the board think we have a role to play here? And if so, to try and kind of coalesce around a vision, does this start to get there? And then 2, we have, as we finish these big renovations, we have spaces on campuses, especially the middle school, those northern portables that aren't particularly used right now. The middle school has about 500 kids in it right now. It's built, just the core campus is built for 1,300 kids. So all of Ravenswood could basically double, and that school still wouldn't be quite full. Right, and that assumes normal class size ratios. So are we comfortable thinking about using places on that campus to potentially add early childhood seats? That concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Questions and comments from the board?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Yes, I agree that we should be doing early childhood. I mean, I originally as a teacher, I thought I was thinking that, we're in the business of educating school age children, but Ravenswood needs to recruit the children from birth because there's too many options. So if we get them into our facilities at birth or soon thereafter, the chances of them continuing with Ravenswood would be better. So whatever we can do to get them, rope them into Ravenswood early, become part of our family.
Thank you.
Through the chair, as you all know, this is a close topic to my heart. Surprise. And so I am in agreement. I believe that we as a district should think of a roadmap or a substantial plan of how we are going to address the immediate need as well as the need that is coming. I think it'll be a great idea for us to open up spaces at the individual school site levels, because we would get parents used to going to our sites. And so as they transition out of, TK, they'll be going right into their potential school. And so I think by opening up a lot of our campuses, if space permits, in trying that route as well, but I think that we need to make an ecosystem that starts at 0 to 1, just to give more support to our constituents within this community to have access to childcare and education as young as we can. And I believe that that's where it's all going to start. And so, I was just writing notes of, how are we also going to ask our representatives for additional funding to ensure that this need is met, right? And I believe if we put it as it's always been a priority, but I feel like it's one of those priorities that we've had, but we're trying to fine tune to make it a little bit better when we're presenting it. And so thank you to the staff and everyone that's been working on this. And I think we're heading in the right direction. So yes, I think that we do have a role to play and that we should begin to really map out what that verbiage looks like, what that message we're going to share with our community members are going to be.
I echo what has been said. And I'll reiterate that we're 3 years too late. Because I would have loved my kids to be able to benefit from this. So yeah, we should find ways to address the immediate need and work towards being able to provide this to everybody in this community.
Thank you. I also agree. And Trustee Nunez said, or Vice President Nunez said, we're 3 years too late. I'll say we're 6/8 years too late. As an early childhood education major for my master's, this is something that I have researched a lot. And one of the things that I still remember from when I was in school, how many ever years ago that was, I'm not going to say, is that they say that investment in early childhood education is actually investment in the economy of a city. So when we think about not just Ravenswood City School District as an economy, but the city of East Palo Alto, the community of Bellhaven and Menlo Park, we are investing in the growth and upward mobility of our cities and our community members and our families. And so this is something that I always hope, whenever they say we're going to invest in early childhood education, I'm like, I'm going to vote for you, but I don't think you're going to do it. I want to see someone do it. And if we as a board can actually do it and show the nation there is a model for this, even in a public school system, to invest in 0 to 5, 0 to 4, because we also already are investing from 4 and up, 4/5 and up, that we can show that there is a model for that, to do that successfully, that shows that we are investing not just in our schools, but in our communities. So, and to show that growth and to give more data to that point. And maybe Dr. Eager here can do another thesis on that later. Or the future doctors that I'm sitting with here at the dais. So I just am very interested, and I think that the direction is to continue to pursue this early childhood vision from the board on both questions. I believe the answer is yes. Yes.
I just had a question. So last board meeting, the presentation talked about potentially doing a parcel tax for this as well, or tacking on to the parcel tax for this. With this direction, could that be something that is added to explore? I'm not sure if they're still trying to be linked.
I think we would want to bring the poll to the board in June 26th, 22nd
22nd.
meeting. And then we can discuss further how, if it's appropriate to poll using questions around the EC.
Thank you. Through the chair.
Yes.
The only concern I have is staffing. There's a teacher shortage and there's especially a preschool teacher shortage and infant early childhood. And so that's my big concern is staffing, making sure that we are staffing it appropriately with the best early childhood educators we can. And then attached to that is who manages the staffing? Would these be district run preschools, meaning they would be district employees? Or would they be employees of whatever, the way all five works? Because I don't believe they're district employees, they're all five
They're not.
employees. So
Yeah,
those
we
are
don't-
just my two things.
I just want to clarify, we do not have a preschool. We do provide special ed services for preschool students in the area as we are their thank you. Thank you. And we already benefit from a close partnership with all five being at Bellhaven, Family Connection at Los Robles, Ronald McNair, the Child Development Center of Bellhaven across the street. And we actually convene the preschools as well and have monthly, almost biweekly conversations. And that's facilitated by Ann Waterman Roy, who with the Early Childhood Education Grant is funded to support us with the early childhood education.
So the direction is to continue to explore on how this can become a vision for us. And we don't have the exact details of all of that, but as we continue the exploration, I'm sure we will have more answers to our questions.
To the chair, really quick,
Yes.
can we also add a financial logistics aspect of it with how much projected it'll potentially cost to, and if?
I mean, I think the direction is to continue to explore and make sure that financial piece is also included. Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on to the next item, which is the update on the leasing of 2120 Euclid.
You're halfway there. All right. So over the last couple of months, we have been exploring multiple options for the northwest corner in Bellhaven Elementary. You guys can see this is the corner we're talking about here. This is Ivy, the main part of the school, core wings here. This is that sort of northeast corner.
Sorry to interrupt. We are actually on item number 12, which is direction on exploring a ground lease with Ravenswood Family Health Clinic for the creation of the health clinic in the northwest corner of Bellhaven Elementary School. Sorry, please continue. Yes.
It is. That's correct. Yeah. All right. So we are not in 2120 Euclid. We are in the northwest corner of the field of Bellhaven. We have been publicly out there exploring a couple different options for that space. This is based on prior conversations, prior iterations of feedback and possible options. Those options, just to reiterate, were a community sort of picnic grove and a full-size parking lot. Option 2 is keeping that existing tennis court and doing sort of a mini parking lot. And then option 3 is a community health clinic with sort of a more in-between parking lot. We have been out there sort of canvassing, trying to understand two questions. This is just on the health clinic, so this does not obligate the board to pursue a health clinic, but these are sort of two things that are necessary. I think if there was to be a health clinic built, two questions we need to answer. The first is, does anyone want a health clinic there? Right? It's a nice idea on paper to say we could fit one there. Does anyone actually want one? And the second question is, does anybody actually want to build one there? So even if there is public support, that does not necessitate the construction of a building. So we've done two things to kind of answer these questions. The first is we've created a website, an online poll. We've mailed out to everyone at Bellhaven. We've sent out multiple mailers through our district communication channels. We've advertised this on Facebook, all of our social media. So got some feedback there. And then the second thing is, regardless of whether or not there is public support, does anybody actually want to build one? So in order to find that out, we put out a public request for proposals to see if anybody is interested in meeting some of the requirements that we would have should somebody be interested. Pleased to say the answer to both questions is yes. In terms of the public support, there's 123 respondents, which is pretty good for a survey that we put out. That's not a huge thing, but that's not bad. A typical survey of, say, all of Ravenswood would probably be about 300 respondents. So we're just looking at Bellhaven, which is about a third of our community. So 123 is sort of in the ballpark of reasonably good. From that feedback, the overwhelming number of respondents are in support of a health clinic on the spot. The second thing that we heard in conversation with folks that came up kind of the most was health clinic and parking. The second thing that we did is we put out an RFI to say, is anybody interested in actually partnering with us here? And we got a response from the Ravenswood Family Health Network, which is obviously a well-known and local provider. They're interested in partnering with us to self-fund and build a health clinic on that corner. Similar to our agreement with EPAT and other construction projects, there would be an initial term with the ability to extend. Similar again to EPAT, we thought about that ability to repurchase the building to help mitigate should we need control of that space. In terms of rent and things like that, the thought is potentially not to charge them significant rent as they are a nonprofit health clinic, but allow them to serve our students as a way to generate rent. I think the timeline is, if you want to pursue this option, we can. If you don't, we don't have to. It will take a while to presumably reach agreement on that, should we approve. If we do reach agreement or staff reaches agreement, as before, the board would have to approve a ground lease, the design, the financing plan as before. The partner would then sort of get their approvals and build the site. I guess the question for the board is, it does feel like there is both significant community support from the people we heard from, and there is an interested provider. So this is a possible option. Is the board interested in staff working to develop a ground lease with the Ravenswood Family Health Clinic? Again, this would not necessarily obligate the district to proceed with that. It's more, do you want us to spend time working on this or not? And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Any questions and comments from the board?
For the chair. I know that that we don't get that many survey results. That's right. So it was stated that 123 respondents is pretty okay. I'm just wondering if there's any way to get more feedback, because if you do the raw numbers, it's only 62 people that would prefer a clinic versus the other half. Really, if you put the other two together, that would prefer an outdoor space, because a picnic and parking and tennis courts is an outdoor space. And so it's kind of split down the middle on the usage. And so I think I wonder if there's ways to get more responses so that we can see that the clinic is really good.
Certainly can. The survey is still live in the field. We haven't closed it. So I think anything that the trustees want to do to help us get more sort of word out there, we've done mailers on the website, we've emailed it to every Ravenswood family multiple times, including Bellhaven. Even more than that, we blasted all of our social media repeatedly. I think we're open to keeping it open as long as we can. I don't know that I don't know how many responses we might get.
There's also the notification placed at both of the libraries.
We canvassed multiple places.
And then Will and our outreach coordinator have been at multiple places out front. Also standing in front of the schools, offering office hours. So just wondering if there is a threshold or how much more time.
Any other questions or comments?
Through the chair. The poll numbers are just typical of what we get. Yes, there's a whole bunch of people living in Bellhaven. I live there. I got so many mailers and and there's nothing more the district could do as far, unless we outreach through the faith organizations. Because maybe people will answer a poll after they go to their faith, whatever it is that they do of a Saturday or a Sunday. So, but I mean, it's very typical, unfortunately. I have no problem working with Ravenswood Family Health Clinic. The 24% of people who wanted that tennis court never go play on it, ever. I live there. It's just not used, even though it was beautifully resurfaced by the city, which I appreciate. But it's not used as a tennis court except by the school. I would have preferred to have it as recreational space, not a health clinic. But I know that the Ravenswood Health Clinic used to be over in the senior center and they left. I found that out when I needed them and went to the senior center and found out they weren't there anymore. So, but you know, if we want to look at Ravenswood Family Health Clinic to put a clinic there, that's fine. I think that it should be, if we do that, the lease should be a sizable lease. It's not like it can't be afforded by the group, in my opinion. You know, if we're going to lease the space, let's make it so we can get the money from this space.
Through the chair, do we offer any rent credits for any other leases that we currently have?
We do for pretty much all of them, I would say, actually. I don't know that we've ever actually done, other than for this property and the Flood Park site, a purely market, in Silicon Valley International School. Those would probably be our only in Silicon Valley, and La Escuela. So other than those four, everything else is probably sort of sub-market. So all five, Izzy, EPAT,
Boys and Girls Club.
Boys and Girls Club. It's a pretty, like, the list of spaces on our website where we lease out, WIC, right? The college track, whatever, it's the Foundation for College Education. So the vast majority of our leases have been to nonprofit at some market rates.
Okay, interesting. I don't know if my perception of credits will continue when it comes to leases. I like the idea of having a clinic on one of our sites, but I'm also kind of inclined to maybe like turning that tennis court into like a pickleball court. Just a thought.
I would say,
It's a use for it.
I would
Move
say-
into my house then and listen to the pickleball.
It's not
I would
that
say
bad.
the debate that is happening potentially now was mirrored in conversations where several of the people who voted for tennis courts did say they really wanted a pickleball court, and then the person next to them got very upset about the noise coming from the pickleball
That's
court.
exactly what just happened right now.
Exactly. So I have seen that play out. I would say it is not, it's not the vast majority of respondents, but it is, there's a vocal and dedicated contingent.
I'm open to this potential lease. I would not be open to the credits. But I'm open to this option. I think I'm more favoring keeping it as a potential multi-use site. Just to give like, I don't know, having like a basketball court there or something. Just something a little bit more movable that, you know, you can use.
I would just reiterate that there's a whole, this is not the latest design of this. I know we talked about this in our facilities subcommittee this week, but there's a whole sort of full-size park going in here that would include multiple athletic fields, bioswales, walking tracks, picnic groves, a little bit of expanded parking. So there is sort of a more or less full-size park going in here. And this is a relatively small portion.
Would a tree forest be optional?
We are talking about adding a large number of trees onto this site. I would,
Like a
we have
nursery?
significantly struggled to maintain the trees that we have on our campus. I don't know that we could afford a tree forest.
Just thought, thank you.
So I have maybe one question that might be two. So as of now in the Bellhaven community, is there a health clinic?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And I believe that we don't work for the city of Menlo Park, but we do know that the Bellhaven Community Center is going in. And does their current community center have a health clinic planned?
It does not.
It does not. Okay. So there is a need in this community for a health clinic. So that's something that I do want to just note and highlight. I know that like Trustee Alexander said, Ravenswood Health Clinic was there before, right? And then they were no longer there. So I think that it is important to continue to invest in meeting all the parts of a person. So my personal opinion is to continue with this process and to see, what kind of ground lease and financing plan and design we could come up with, because this is also something that they would be funding to build, right? So self-funding to manage construction and build the building, correct? Just to confirm.
That's correct. And there would to some extent be savings by taking this out of our construction scope.
Okay. So that's less, that's something that we can do to benefit the community without using bond fund dollars to do. So I just want to make sure that we also see that as well. And then the possibility of having some revenue, whether it's big or small, coming in through this ground lease. So I think the overall direction is to pursue the ground lease. I just want to confirm that, shaking of the head. Yes. Okay. The overall direction is to pursue the ground lease with Ravenswood Health Network, Family Health Network, especially because there is a need that we're filling and that they want to build. So answering those first two questions that you had asked in the beginning of the presentation. And then I think that we'll look at the lease and then go from there. So thank you. Okay, now I will move on to item number 13, which is the update on the leasing of 2120 Euclid. And surprise, Mr. Eager is our presenter for this one as well.
One more, and then I got to hand it off. Then I'm back. For 2120 Euclid, we have been doing over the last several months, gathering and kind of rerunning the leasing process that we ran previously for 2120 Euclid. That culminated in an agreement with a life science developer that no longer appears viable. Through this process, we have received several competitive proposals, although we're continuing to gather information. At this point, we believe that the proposals we have are material and worth pursuing and proceeding with. We're not at a point where we can share those materials publicly. We would like, though, to let the community know we do have serious proposals that we're hoping to present on June 22nd. Potentially, as before, publicly presenting one partner for the public to see. During that time between now and then, we would like to do a round of interviews, as we did before, with a couple of trustees, obviously less than two to not violate the Brown Act. We leave it to the board to identify which of those members of the board would potentially make sense, or what subcommittee potentially would make sense to work with us on interviewing potential partners, with the goal of potentially presenting a partner on June 22nd, negotiating the contract over the summer, and then presenting a potential ground lease and option agreement to the broader community sometime this fall. That'll conclude the presentation.
Thank you. So I believe that the direction here is to see if we can, which trustees would be interested in joining the subcommittee to interview potential property people to be on the interview panel for this in the next 2 weeks. So the turnaround is quick. I will put my name in the hat to say, because I do have flexibility with my schedule. So if there is two other people who are really wanting to do it, I can also take a step back.
Through the chair, with my very, very busy retired person work schedule, I am available to be on this.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would really like to be on it, or should I just say yes to? Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and move forward that you're two, whether you like it or not, it's me and Trustee Alexander. So thank you. We look forward to getting your emails and presentations in the next week. Okay, thank you. All right, I am going to go ahead. Thank you. Does that answer your questions? Is there anything else? No, okay. All right, so we are going to move on to the public hearing. Item number 14, the public hearing on the 2022-2024 local control and accountability plan.
I am thrilled to present Allison Officer and to sit down. Allison has been working pretty tirelessly for the last couple of months. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to meet her. She's our compliance coordinator, but does so much more than that, and has been working on really a big part of our strategic plan, the local control and accountability plan, over the last several months. And I am just thrilled she is here to present this tonight. I'm going to hand it off to her. Sit down.
Thank you.
Good evening, thank you. So.
Sorry, before you start, just make sure you speak into the microphone. Thank you.
Because it is a little taller. I'm here to present on the local control and accountability plan for the upcoming school year. What is it? It's a 3-year district level plan, and it covers the 8 state priorities from California that are all reported on the California dashboard, and it reflects a bunch of our goals and actions and services for the next year. So we have 3 simultaneous strategic planning documents on the go at the moment. All of the schools create 1-year plans, the school SIPSA, and using state guidelines, and that is aligned with the district LCAP, which is the 3-year plan. And then we also have our strategic plan. And so all of those are coming up towards the end of their cycles. So our LCAP has 7 goals for next year with about 70 actions. And as you can see from the goals listed, they are all very closely aligned with our longer strategic plan document as well. Alignment is important. And there are also page numbers there for all of the actual very specific long detail in the attached document. So yes, the full document has all of our actions, and there are just 4 major focus areas that we've pulled out as an example of some of the things that are covered in the plan. Next year, there is a continued focus on comprehensive professional learning plan, emphasis on coaching, collaboration. I believe you've already heard about an attendance resource fair instead of a traditional SARB meeting. Continuing to develop partnerships, and of course our expanded learning opportunities. There are also over 60 metrics across those 7 goals that are reported in the document, as well as the planned expenditures, which are aligned during the budget development process, which is up next on the agenda as well. So this meeting is the opportunity for public and board feedback, but otherwise the next steps will be at the next board meeting with the consideration to approve the LCAP and then also the local indicator and year-end vital signs presentations.
Thank you. So I'm going to officially open the public hearing. So it is now the opportunity for members of the public and board to comment on the public hearing on the local control and accountability plan. Do we have any public comment or board comment?
Through the chair.
Yes.
I know it's a lot of work to put these together, so I appreciate all the time and effort that has gone into this. I am glad that it's done on time and ready.
Yes. Thank you.
That's it.
And I also just add, Allison Officer presented to our county Office of Ed staff who oversee the LCAP reviews. And really there were only operational things that we needed to do in regards to like changing words.
Things like making sure to include the year-end testing data that was not completed at the time
So it only attests to the alignment of her work with what is happening at the schools, the long-term planning, and the alignment with our finance team. So I really appreciate that.
Right, thank you very much. So since we did not have any other public comment, I am going to go ahead and adjourn the hearing on the 2022-2024 local control and accountability plan. Thank you. Right, we're going to move on. And thank you, Allison, for your presentation and for all the hard work in the longer document that we know you took a lot of time to do. So thank you. 100 and how many pages?
The final document was 140 pages, and the county meetings to debrief this usually are, in the hours, if not tens of hours. With Allison's version this year, it was 20 minutes. I mean, it just is absolutely amazing what she's done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to move on to the next public hearing, which is the 2022-2023 Ravenswood City School District proposed budget.
Back. I'm going to be brief here. The proposed budget that we have today is really the same budget that we went through in detail in March. We have not made massive changes to the budget, which I think is to use Gina's phrasing, an attestation to the alignment we have between what we are trying to do, the business office team, the fact that we started earlier, and the fact that we sort of know where we're going. So I'm not going to highlight all these things. We've already talked through them, but we do expect to run a deficit. I just want to name that again, but it is very planned as we spend down the significant reserves that we've built over the last few years. So with that, I'm going to conclude my presentation.
All right, with that, I am going to officially open the public hearing. So now is the opportunity for members of the public to comment on Ravenswood City School District's 2023-2024 proposed budget. Any public comments or board comments? Okay, as I see none, I will just say thank you, Mr. Eager, for your. Oh, yes, you can also see our budget line by line on the website. We have a tool on that website that shows where every single dollar is spent and how much is spent on the school site, how much is spent for books, for teacher salaries, for classified staff, employee salaries, certificated staff, superintendent, all the stuff is on there. And I will say that there are lots of school districts who don't have that tool that is really fun to look at and to use and easy to use and access. So if there's any questions about where our money is going, it is very transparent and very accessible. If you don't know where to find it, you can email Will Eager and he will send you a link.
Live
And,
this year. Updated for this year, which is exciting.
Yes, so look at that. It's beautiful. I do really appreciate this link, and I have actually sent it out to a lot of people and other trustees from other districts. So if you need the link, you can also email me. All right, so thank you so much for that thought. To take that thought in. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next thing, which is the adjournment of the public hearing on the 2022-2023 Ravenswood City School District proposed budget. And now we will move on to item number 16, which is the superintendent's report.
We have our vital sign presentation. But I do want to just give an overview of what we've been able to accomplish in regards to our milestones and just give you a quick snapshot. We have our theory of action that we presented at the beginning of the year in regards to how our teams are to support our school sites as our governance teams holds accountable our strategic priorities. So here's just an overview very quickly of our teaching and learning department. That includes also our ed services. We're here to ensure we have rigorous classroom instruction, equitable school cultures, and support services for students' success. For teaching and learning, we focused on the instructional core, and we were able to conduct coaching walkthroughs where our instructional coaches work closely with our teachers to align the instruction to grade level standard. We were able to really focus on that in the beginning of the year and through winter. We also honed in on our skills to collect low inference data and then be able to utilize that information to start drafting a professional development calendar for next year. I think what is the best outcome, though, from the work that our assistant superintendent, our executive director of Ed Services has done is built buy-in by all of the educators of us going into classrooms on a regular basis that wasn't always welcomed. And actually, we were able to build trust and confidence in the process. With the core walkthroughs, principals were also able to utilize the data to be able to, learn more about what the learning needs are and incorporate that in their own professional development at the sites. We do need to make sure, though, that we emphasize what those needs are based on the data we've collected and execute that for our 23-24 professional development. One of the areas that we want to improve upon is supporting our site administrators with real-time feedback, as that is some of the best professional development, is giving them that feedback, which is supporting with the improvement that need to make in the classroom around the instructional core. Another outcome from our teaching and learning this year is being committed to having a universal approach to intervention. We've been able to execute and implement iReady across all of our schools for the first time. So we have benchmark data that is to inform us of instruction across the board, so to see trends and be able to know how to address student needs, address intervention groupings. And again, the next step here is with the data and information, how to support teachers with next steps. From our finance operations and data tech, obviously you heard from Will Eager, there is a lot going on. Ultimately, though, our goal is to align our budget with district goals so that we can sustain growth in the areas of facilities, finance, data management, and technology integration. And we've already talked about, we're pleased that we are on track with the Cesar Chavez Ravenswood Middle School construction. The work that we're doing around Los Robles, Juan McNair, specifically the outdoor ed, we are focusing on trying to build a stage there and support their garden. That's slightly behind as we're focused on completing CCRMS, getting Bellhaven construction up and running, as well as Magical Bridge Foundation. And then we heard a lot about the leases that are taking place as we're moving forward with the flood site. As we're currently receiving bids from 2120 Euclid, and then obviously the community hub and putting a bid out for the other portion of that field on Bay Road. And then we are very proud of the process around the budget, as our budget owners are well informed about the monies that they have and making sure they are aligned to the strategic priorities, and we can actually hold budget owners accountable as well. And then being very transparent about how all of the funds are being utilized. Again, we are pleased with our new team member, our data assessment coordinator, Austin Batson, who's supporting also with the data analysis. And so we will have a thorough presentation for you all on June 22nd. I also believe that we are receiving data in real time from the LPAC as well as CAS. We're not sure if we'll be able to have all that information ready for you on the 22nd, but we will be able to have it much sooner than we expected. And then also just being able to have home devices for every single student in the district is quite phenomenal. And so we're continuing with the initiative. And then being creative too, if a device comes up with some, broken keyboards or broken screens, processes that the team has in place to have children build ownership around that. For example, David Salgado, our technology specialist, has a section, a session once a week at lunch, almost every day, where students are learning how to repair laptops. And then from that stemmed the idea of ownership in regards to if students damage their home computer, We don't automatically give them a new one. They come to that session, learn from their buddies, and learn how to fix their own computer. I mean, something that City Year can help with. And around strategy, talent, and engagement, this is the third arm of our central office. And here we focus on initiatives like the TK expansion, extended school day and year, enrollment process, and external communications and strategic plan. And we are pleased with how we have put in place partnership process where we've developed a tool to assess satisfaction, and also making sure that the partnership is mutually beneficial. That should say develop, excuse that typo. We want to make sure that the partnership is mutually beneficial and that we are constantly engaged with our partners, making sure that we believe we're going to meet the deliverables, and if not, how we can support each other to make that happen. And our goal is to have results show that we have at least 80% satisfaction. And we're actually going to have a community partner meeting June 15th, where we'll be able to review the surveys and learn about best practices this year, and then receive ideas from our partners as well, so that we can make the partnerships process meaningful for 23-24. And lastly, around strategy, talent, and engagement, we are pleased to be able to report out on all of the metrics to show not only the quantitative data around the satellite data that around student achievement, but the narrative about how we're making progress in many different areas around our strategic plan. And prepare yourselves for June 22nd. And then also just the success that we've had with the expanded school year. This was the first year we launched an inter-session during our breaks. And also we are prepared to have exceeding numbers beyond our projections for summer school enrollment. And then for 23-24, we are also excited since I have City Year here, to be able to have the before school care and productive activities to engage our kids, reassure our families, and be able to have just quality learning environment from 7 to 6 p.m. Also, the goals direction to be able to pursue early child education will be a focus for 23-24. As well as pursuing our 12 to 18 month strategic visioning and process, where we want to deeply engage the community, co-create a shared vision with our families and students, as well as just really understand through these initial months what the current reality is about people's perception of our district. And more importantly, be able to build a strategic plan that's sustainable and lasts beyond and is carried beyond our elected officials, myself, but carried by the community. And then we're also focusing on the teacher evaluation. One more thing there, Solomon. And focusing on that talent initiative, supporting site administrators with their instructional leadership, and continue to have a mutually compatible relationship with our union around the teacher evaluation. It was a successful negotiations, and we want to continue to have meaningful evaluation process continue. And then, everything that we'll share today will carry over through the summer and into 23-24 school year. So we have construction to finish and start, parcel tax to pursue, and leases to negotiate. Thank you. Oh, one last thing. I'm sorry. More important. I'm getting a little anxious with how long this is going. So one more, and it's the teaching and learning, which is the most important. And so I want to just emphasize that we want to stay laser focused on the instructional core. We want to, I needed that. We want to make sure that we do focus on getting into those classrooms, providing the feedback to support our educators who, are really dealing with a widespread of needs, diaspora of needs of our students. And so that real-time feedback is critical, as well as being able to roll out a science of reading curriculum, where we just recently are going to pursue curriculum that we'll bring before the board for new adoption for the TK5 ELA, ELD reading curriculum. And then emphasizing that universal tier 2 intervention time, we'll be using folks like City Year to support us with that instruction. So students, depending, no matter what their needs are during that specific time, specific skill sets would be met with all hands on deck. So for example, all of second graders at Bellhaven will participate in universal tier 2 time, either receiving interventions to help them accelerate or to advance. Now it's a thank you.
Thank you. City here didn't know they were going to get called out that many times. Yeah. Good thing you stayed. Any questions or comments from the board regarding the superintendent's report? Oh, as I see none, we will continue. Thank you very much for that report. It's good to look back and to look forward. And I know that we will have more looking back and looking forward next week, or not next week, in 2 weeks. All right, we're going to move on to the next item, which is a sad item, but item number 17, which is the board vacancy appointment procedure. Because trustee Alexander will be moving because of her retirement in August. So we are trying to go ahead and get ahead of it. And so we are going to be looking to get a subcommittee of board members together, which is 2, so that we can create and outline the process.
Well, primarily the role of the subcommittee is to review the applicants that do come in and make sure that they meet the criteria to be a candidate, an eligible candidate to come before the board for interview.
So it's just about doing the initial review to make sure that they are eligible to come before the full board. So it's not making decisions, it's just reviewing the actual applications. So do we have any volunteers for that subcommittee? And trustee Alexander cannot be on that subcommittee, so.
Through the chair, I volunteer to be part of the subcommittee as well as a recommendation. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this considering she's not here, but we are a fairly new board. And so I think trustee Shaboma would also be a good fit, but I don't know if we're allowed to do that.
I think that she has to be here to accept, right? So is there anyone else?
In this conversation continue when trustee Shabbat is present.
Yes, and so the reason why I would suggest that that is possible is because on the June 22nd meeting, we would want to go over the procedural aspects of this, and I can have a conversation with trustee Sabomahin to see if she is interested, and then we could come back to the board.
Okay. Just a question, can you do the procedural stuff without the 2 trustees on a subcommittee?
I mean, if we're going through the applications are qualified, I believe that it's not out yet.
Correct.
And so I believe that we can continue to do the procedural stuff in lieu.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm. So why don't we bring this back next time to just confirm if trustee Shaboma can serve on this subcommittee? Okay, great. All right, thanks. I'm going to move on to item number 18, which is board reports and communications.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So I have a couple things to report. The first is the facilities committee meeting that we had earlier this week. We had a facilities committee meeting, and the things we talked about are pretty much what we talked about today. So not a whole lot to add there. And secondly, I went and saw yesterday at Castagna School the first half of Lion King. I would be there tonight at 6 p.m., but I was here. The first half was really good. The way it was interesting to watch. I have to say that the hyenas, if you have a chance to go see it tomorrow at 6 p.m., the hyenas are worth the trip. They were fantastic. I mean, all the actors were great, but the hyenas stole the show. And the stampede that kills Mufasa, another really well done part of the show.
Spoiler alert.
I hope I didn't give a
You
spoiler there for anybody. Oh, come on, everybody's seen Lion King. So way to go, Castaño, way to go to the students there, to their director, Sinjin, to every student, teacher who took part in that. The one thing that I saw was the sheer joy in the students who were performing. And whether they knew their lines or not, they loved being up there. It was great. I really want to see the whole show now. So anyway, that's it for me.
Any other board report?
Through the chair, Juneteenth is coming up. So the City of East Walton will be having a celebration. If you need more information, check out their page. July 1st, the city will be celebrating 40 years of cityship. So I believe there is a march and an event at Cooley Landing, as well as a ball the night before. So that's also a fun event. And I believe this is our last board meeting before all of our promotion excitement next week. So to our students that are promoting, congratulations, good luck. I'm like, good luck, you're out. No, I'm just kidding. But we wish you all the best.
And hey, fifth graders, go to our middle school. Okay, it's a good one.
I'd like to echo trustee Latu's congratulations of all the classes that are being promoted next week. And to the teachers that got them there, thank you. And then as another community event, I saw a flyer today for East Palo Alto's first ever Pride celebration that's gonna happen in July. So I'm not sure if we'll get to announce it later on, but keep an eye out for that as well.
Thank you. I will echo all of the congratulations to the promotion and definitely go out to the Castaño event and to see Lion King. I have not, but I did go to the other one that they did last year, and those kids are amazing. Just the amount of energy that they put into the show, and the teachers and staff. And I'm excited to go to so many promotions next week. I think I'm going to go to 4. So that's going to be really exciting. And one special one to my heart, because my son is going to graduate, or not graduate, kindergarten. So he's being promoted into 1st grade. So I'm super excited about that. It's always super fun to see the little kinders get to the next level. So thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and move on to item number 19, which we don't need. And then item number 20, the next regular board meeting will be held on June 22nd at 6:30 p.m. I highly encourage all of the community members to attend or watch online, because we will be having our vital signs presentation, where we are going to talk about the progress that our students have been making and will continue to make. So open session will begin at approximately 7:15, or closed session is at 6:30 p.m. and open session will begin approximately at 7:15 p.m. And with that, the Ravenswood regular board meeting is adjourned at 9:32 p.m.